There we go. There we go. Now we're live. Oh, there. I was listening, watching on my phone, trying to figure out what was going on. Didn't want to go live right away, but now we are live. How's it going, guys? My name is Jared Fuller, aka the Jared. Today's date is Sunday, March 2nd, 2025. Usually joining me off camera is my dad, but he went to go check on an air tank for our bladder tank. And Amy, she's sitting out at the kitchen table. I hope you've all been doing well. I hope you are enjoying your weekend. And so, yeah, today, as everybody knows, maybe people who have been paying attention to my Facebook. Yeah, today, 36 years ago today, I was diagnosed with Wilms tumor, and I kind of mentioned that in last week's Sunday video, how I was going to discuss that. And it's kind of a bittersweet day for me, considering all I've been through and what's been going on over the past year and a half. And um, I've been talking with some friends of mine in the pediatric oncology world about today being my diagnosis day. D-Day is what we call that in the childhood cancer world. And I don't know. I just don't feel as though people care, really. I use my story as a point of reference for other families who are battling, or whose children are battling cancer. And the families feel the effects. They feel the impact. Just maybe not as much as the child who's being treated, but the family at some point feels the impact of a diagnosis. I don't know what that is. It's driving me crazy. Sorry, guys, I'm distracted. Um, it impacts the family as a whole, but I think not as much as it does the child going through it. Um, but I feel as though that maybe it just doesn't matter as much to a lot of people, which I would understand. I mean, my battle has nothing to do with anyone else, and my survivorship really has nothing to do with anyone else except for me. But as I pointed out, I think I use my story as a point of reference to help other families whose children are going through such battles. But I just don't feel as though it has as much impact as, say, someone who just wants to be glorified for doing stuff for kids with cancer. Um, and it's like, why should I have to compete with these other people? And I shouldn't have to. These people just want to be glorified for, making bridges and buildings go gold. And, it's stupid, you know, or for making a whole town go gold. It's just stupid. Um, I mean, it pales in comparison. These people who are just trying to make a name for themselves at basically my expense and the expense of other children, when they think they're doing a good thing by symbolizing everything with gold and ribbons and gold ribbons, and uh they're not doing anything for these kids. What they are doing is using these kids to be glorified, to make a name for themselves, as I pointed out any number of times before. And for me, it's just, for me, it's personal. I mean, I had gotten in contact with the medical records department at MSU, and I'm hopefully going to be getting some additional information about my battle with Wilms, because the thing is, Dr. Scott's retired, and he can't remove the folder, with all my information. He can't remove that from the clinic. It's illegal. And they can't tell me anything over the phone or an email because it's a violation of HIPAA. So even if I emailed, Dr. Guerra and said, "Hey, can I get some information about this?" She can't help me. She can't do that because it would be a violation of HIPAA. And I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble legally. So what I had to do was I had to fill out a paper, I had to fill out a form, and filled it out, mailed it in, but then I also emailed someone at the medical records department, and they said it could take up to 30 days, 30 business days. And then, once they gather all that information, what they'll do is they'll send me um, probably an envelope, a packet of paperwork. Hopefully, it's the information I'm looking for from that yellow folder. That's what I'm hoping to get. But they're going to send me the information with an invoice because, of course, you got to pay for copies of your medical records and all that stuff. Um, But the more I know about my battle, the more the more information, the better, because I can use that to help guide other families through similar situations. And, not necessarily just Walden's tumor, but, when it comes to chemo and radiation, um, I'm just looking for information about my battle, because there's a lot of missing pieces to the puzzle. And, I'm not sure if they recorded symptoms like, what am I feeling, or, is Jared getting sick, or is Jared sweating, or we know that I was feeling the effects of chemo. My mom told me herself. Um, so I know I felt the effects from chemo without a doubt, no question. But see, mom's not here anymore to further elaborate on that. So now I have to go on what they have in their files. And then the information I gather, I can then frontier that information to help other families who may be going through similar situations with their children and their battles. But with today being diagnosis day, um, I just don't think it really matters as much. And again, I can understand, like, if even if my friend said, well, I feel for you, but this really has nothing to do with my child or whatever, I would understand that. Um, but I think, as long as I'm still reaching out to families, I would like to think at some point, even in the history of survivors and children who've gone through that, I would still like to think at some point that it matters somewhere. Like, I have my place in, um, the history of childhood cancer. Although, I've stood on the shoulders of other childhood cancer survivors who've been survivors longer than I've been alive. And that is the case with me when it comes to all these other children. I've been a survivor longer than these kids have been alive. So I speak personal experience and I tell my story from the information that I already have. Diagnosis day, when the Broviac was removed, um, the chemo I had, I don't know how many milligrams I had, and that's some of the information I'm trying to gather. Hopefully, they can help me out with that, because all that would be recorded. It would be in that yellow folder that Dr. Scott had, and there's been people on Facebook telling me, "Well, those files are probably shredded, they're probably gone." But I talked to Dr. Scott, the last time I saw him was back in 2017, March 6th, 2017, and he was practicing at the subspecialties clinic across the street from Sparrow in Lansing, and he still had that folder. I mean, he still had it. So, it's only been, like, 8 years since I've seen Dr. Scott. Now he's retired, or so I'm told that he's retired, but Dr. Guerra still practices at subspecialties, and Dr. Guerra was my oncologist back in the day. So, there might still be a chance that that information can be accessed and I can have copies for myself from that folder, and that's what I'm trying to get. And I'm hoping, with fingers crossed, I'm hoping that they're able to provide that for me. And the more information I get, the more, like I said, the more I can frontier to other families who have questions like, what did you well, I can tell you what I felt. I mean, my parents told me what I had gone through. I was vomiting and sweating and had diarrhea, cold chills, sweats. I lost my hair. Um, I have weight loss, weight gain, that kind of thing. So my body, my little 2-year-old body had taken a brutal beating, not just from the disease itself, but from the treatment. And I think that's part of the reason why I am so inclined to share my story with people who are interested in wanting to know, especially families whose children have been newly diagnosed. They want to reach out to somebody who's actually been through that. And of course, it's the disheartening fact that so many people have, they've gone along with this idea that Jared is such a horrible guy based on a rumor. And that really killed it because um, it's like, I've always been on your side, but if you're going to go by what someone says, which I find to be ironic, that's your own stupidity for blindly believing things without actually knowing the truth. And that still bothers me because, there's so many more people I could have connected with on a deeper personal level, but they decided to go along with what everybody else is doing because they don't want to lose their position. They don't want to lose their support. They don't want to lose their popularity. They don't want to lose and it's really it just boggles me that popularity would be more important than the truth. And that's the shit that really keeps me awake at night. It's like how can popularity be more important than truth? Um, I'll never understand that. But I think I just use my story as a point of reference. That's basically it. Today is a bittersweet day for me because I'm thinking about my mom, and 36 years is a long time, and I was diagnosed 36 years ago today. And I think of, the conversations that I'd have with my mom if she were still here, and, I don't talk to dad about, not as much. I mean, my dad's got his thoughts, and I'm always wanting to let him speak his piece and let him speak his mind. But, it's I think the further apart separated I am from my battle, the less relevant that my story becomes to a lot of people, and I don't think it should, honestly, you know? There's this credo in the child of cancer world, and I know I'm gonna get this wrong, but it's something to the tune of admire the survivor, um, honor the fallen, and fight with the fighter or something like I can't remember what it is. I'll have to, do a Google search. Excuse me. I'll have to do a Google search and, let's see, whoops, admire the survivor, support the fighters, okay, this is the one I'm looking for. Support the fighters, admire the survivors, and honor the taken. That's what it is. But admire the survivors, that's hardly a thing. That's hardly even, you know, that hardly ever happens. That's hardly ever a thing. Um, I just, support the fighters? Yes, of course. Honor the taken? Yeah, we do that. I always talk about warriors who've passed away, and I talk more about the fighters. I support the fighters, but maybe I should talk more about the ones who are fallen, but admire the survivors, that's hardly the case at all. And again, it's disheartening. Um, I'm not expecting, I don't expect star treatment. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm not expecting to start treatment. All I'm saying is that D-Day, Diagnosis Day, we call that D-Day. D-Day is just as important and just as, um, pivotal in a warrior's fight than the day, the treatment ends or, unfortunately, until the day they die. Um, all of these things, these dates are very important. And, that's how a lot of days get recognized as special days for, honoring children who've died. They call it, such and such person's day or whatever the case may be, which I don't have a problem with that. Um, but then you get people who are just in no way, shape, or form affiliated with childhood cancer. They just wanna be glorified. And those of us kids, well, I'm not a kid anymore, but you know what I mean? Those of us who've been through it, and I went through it as a child, we don't wanna be glorified, you know? These kids don't care about being glorified, they care about surviving. And they want for their government to recognize them and stop treating them as, opportunities for profit and start taking care of business and saving lives. Um, and I think that was also a part of my reasons for wanting to advocate for cures all those years ago. I just got fed up with, it's like the government, you guys, you've got the money, you've got the power, and you talk about prioritizing children. Well, that should be one way of doing it, prioritizing the health and welfare and well-being of children. They don't die from the hands of other people, they die from pestilence as well. They die from disease, they die from all kinds of shit that has nothing to directly do with human beings, but the human beings have the power to correct it, and they don't. And by human beings, the human beings I'm referring to are those who are elected into office, into high government. They have the power to do it, and they don't. Um, it's it's a great big clusterfuck. And the reason I stopped advocating, there's many reasons. There's no blanket statement, but the one of the reasons I stopped was because it started to become more about people who were just wanting to be glorified at every hiccup, every little thing they do, gotta be in the spotlight for it. "Look what I did for this child, and isn't this wonderful, and let's take a picture of this bald-headed, smiling child so it can, buffer my ego a little bit," and I don't represent that. I don't represent that at all, and I want no part of that, and I don't care about being glorified. Um, but in the beginning, I wanted to work alongside people that I used to talk to, and, I just wanted to, back then, I wanted to be a part of something, but I found that I pose an even bigger, quote, unquote, "threat" when I work alone, when I'm not associated with cliques and certain organizations and groups of people. I do better when I'm by myself, although I don't, I have no desire to wanna join a group or a club. I'm already in the demographic, I mean, that's enough, but I don't wanna be a part of the Truth 365, I don't wanna be a part of CureFest, that dumbass CureFest shit. They just recently had a thing at Penn State, or Penn State was hosting it. It's called THON, THON, and they raised like $17.7 million, and the money is going to research, which I'm at this point, I can only hope that, they're so confident in what they did, raising all this money. I just hope that their confidence will, you know, do something instead of just them touting about how much money they raised. which seems to be the case most of the time. It's people who tout about all the wonderful things they do instead of, you know, well, we're donating all this money to childhood cancer research. Well, that's great. That's dandy. But in the meantime, we have to read posts about you touting and gloating for all the money you've raised. Well, good for you. Is it going to make an actual change? That's all I care about. And and that's what it's like. It's like it's not even the fight's not even with the kids in cancer. The fight seems to be between people who are trying to outdo each other. And I've been saying this for a long time. Make it about the kids. Don't make it about you. You know, if you're going to be serious about this, make it about the children. Stop trying to, fancy yourself and you know, treat yourself as though you've done something amazingly remarkable, like that Jordan Blouse or whatever her name is, Jordan Blouse or Blouse, whatever her fucking name is. She's got that WHIP Pediatric Cancer Foundation that she does. She's another one who just touts. She just likes credit. She likes attention. She uses children as pawns and as little knickknacks in her quest to be number one. I'm an actual survivor of nearly now 40 years, and fame is never something that even crossed my mind. I just wanted to help people because I speak from the personal experience of it, which Jordan has no personal experience, by the way. She just she wants to be the center of everybody's attention, which is why most people do what they do, but not me. I'm just another guy. I survived it. I reach out to families, and I don't care about popularity or attention. I just want for people to know that someone out there understands. Even if they hate my guts because they're told to hate my guts or whatever the case may be. They have no real legitimate reason for hating on me. It's just that they're instructed to, which is not good enough for me, and it shouldn't be good enough for anybody else. Um, but I'm just switching gears for just a moment because I've talked about this for the past 20 minutes. Chewing off my toenail, he's a regular. He comes in my chat log once in a while. Well, actually, not once in a while, every week he comes into my chat log. And this week he says, I'm here to let everyone know that my toenails are fresh and ready to be baked into your casseroles today. And he says, have you ever wondered why a tuna melt has a crunch to it? That's because of my wonderful toenails. And I feel sorry for those of you who are currently eating a tuna melt and you're listening to me talk about tuna melts and toenails. And then I posted a link to the Sunday flashback, the Fox Sunday flashback tonight at 7 o'clock, by the way. When you click on that link, it'll take you right to the station's music being streamed from the studios in Flint, Michigan. Listen to my buddy Dan tonight at 7 o'clock. So after I posted that link, Toenail continues by saying, I will listen to the Fox flashback while watching my toenails grow and smile with glee on my toes. And I asked him, we actually had an interaction in chat. I said, your toenails smile? And he says, every day. Thank you, Toenail, for once again, for another week of humor and for the brief interaction that we had. I appreciate that. So back to what I kind of lost track of what I was saying. People wanting to be glorified for what they do. And it's not to pick on Jordan or anyone in particular, but she's just one of many who are just constantly wanting to be the center of attention. And they use these kids, and as much as I hate to use this word, I'm going to use it anyway. These children are exploited for popularity and attention from these people who have no real connection with childhood cancer. I was curious about this Jordan person a long time ago, and I looked into her, and it's like, is she a childhood cancer survivor? No, she's not. So what the fuck is she doing here? Why is she using these children to be the center of attention? Why is she doing this? And, of course, I never get an answer, but I wonder why people do this. They're not in any way affiliated, but they wanna be the center of attention. They think they're gonna be the ones to foster change, and I hate to tell you, you're not gonna, because at the end of the day, the government gets the final say in what happens, what goes on. That's why so many of us actual oncology families say that we are customers. And it doesn't stop at oncology. I don't wanna put out that idea that it stops only with oncology, because it doesn't. It's medicine in general. They keep us sick so they can stay rich. Um, but mainly childhood cancer, something that, you know, childhood cancer is nothing new. I mean, St. Jude has been advertising childhood cancer for well over 60 years now. I think over 6 decades, people are aware. They're not, people aren't in the dark about childhood cancer. It's not rare, although we still hear, like when the news reporters, when they report on children having cancer, local children, or, you have some children who make national headlines, they use the word rare. It's a rare type of cancer. No, it's not. Childhood cancer is not rare. That's the dirty little secret, but it never was a secret to begin with. Um, and it's no secret either that I've had my outs with some people in the childhood cancer world. Matter of fact, um, there are people that I would have loved to have gotten through to them, instead of them being stupid and selfish and just believing what they're told. Um, I just I don't understand the point of that. Even when I try to reach out and I say, "Hey, hear me out. Don't just assume something. I want you to understand this. You need to just really stop for a minute and listen and think about something before you just jump on it." But then when I do that, "Oh, Jared Fuller was harassing me." You know what? Fuck you. No one's harassing anybody, you fucking crybaby. All it is someone who's trying to get you to understand the fault and the error of your thinking, because there's great fault involved with your thinking. This is what separates me from, the clowns, is that I don't just believe what I'm told. I actually, um, I want to know that what I'm believing is true and accurate and has evidence to support it. Um, it's one of those things. Um, I can't understand why people believe what they believe. I don't. It never made sense to me, but I just kinda roll with the flow, I kinda it's like, it had taken me some time to get over it, although I'm not really over it. I There's people I miss talking to, and they wanna believe every fucking thing they're told, or they kiss the ring of people who are later deemed to be, scam artists, and people who are, um, just faulty in what they do. There were several people over the years who were called out. I mean, they people were making fake Facebook pages to attack me, and it didn't work. But there are also people who made pages to expose the people who are scamming con artists, like, Milk Tyson, which I never cared for that guy, and, um, a lot of people found out about him. And I don't know if a lot of people are still friends with this guy, but I would only hope at some point that they would kinda wake the fuck up. Wake up and smell the fucking roses. You're dealing with a scam artist and someone who has no idea what the fuck he's talking about, and you're still for some reason got your head up his ass. And it was the same with Ronnie Duvall. People were praising him and treating him like he was the godfather of childhood cancer. They were doing this with Tattoo Tom. They were doing this with I mean, they still do this with Jordan Blues or whatever her name is. They treat her like royalty. And it got to a point where when you get these people who are put on pedestals and treated like they were, God's gift to children, they let it go to their heads. And then that's when I lost respect for them because that's not what we're here for. We're not here to glorify and idolize certain people. I don't care how rich and famous and powerful they are, or just people who are looking to feel as though they've accomplished something by using children as stepping stones to get to a point of achieving popularity and fame. That's when we tell you to get the fuck out of here. You're not using our kids to for your own sick, demented, twisted means. You're not going to do that. And I mean, I've even had people tell me, "Oh, Jared, you're no advocate." Blah blah blah. Okay, and is that supposed to be some kind of a remark? I don't have to be an advocate to be a survivor, and vice versa. I don't have to be a survivor to be an advocate. Although it would make better sense if I was a survivor first and then an advocate, because being an advocate without actually having gone through that, it kind of makes me question the person's motives, and they're not as genuine as you think they are. And that's why I question a lot of things about a lot of people. And I said I wouldn't mention Tattoo Tom because, he's gone now, so I don't want to mention him. But I did. It slipped up. So, um, and it's nothing bad. But most people, um, they just they want the popularity. It's like there's something missing in their lives that they were in a desperate search to figure out, what can I do to gain popularity? What can I do? Um, and that's what they do. Well, we'll focus on children because everyone loves children, and children tug at the heartstrings of people all the time. So we're going to use children as a way to springboard our fame and our popularity and all this attention that we're constantly being showered with, because it makes us feel good knowing that people are patting us on the back and telling us how wonderful we are at the expense of someone else. You know, um, Childhood cancer is the only life I've ever known. I have never known a life outside of that kind of a lifestyle. And I think that's, a lot of these people can't even relate. They can't even begin to relate. They don't even know what I've been through. They can say they understand, but do they? They don't. They they understand that my story may be similar to the hundreds, maybe thousands of other stories about children that they've read, and that it's all similar. There's a similarity between my story and those of children who were fighting or are currently fighting. And they're like, "Oh, well, we know, we've heard it all." No, I don't. You don't know. You don't fucking know. You know that my story is relatively similar to the stories of other children you've read about. That's it. That's the extent. Um, but what I even to this day, I mean, after 36 years, I know what that is. I personally know what that is. I'm not speculating. I'm not sitting here with my arms crossed and giving a tell-all blanket statement about childhood cancer, because um there's different experiences for different people. So, um, no, I'm just a guy who survived it. That's it. Nothing more. And I just want to share my story, and help as many people as I can, but I'm not here for popularity. If I went, I don't care if 1,000 news reporters wanted to come at my doorstep and say, "Well, we wanna run a big story on you, Jerry Bear, and we would love to get you'll get national airtime. The whole world will know who you are." No, no, I don't want that. I don't wanna be known not like that. If I'm gonna be known to the world, I would like to be known for something other than childhood cancer, and there may be chances, like, say, for example, if I were to become some famous poet or, some famous writer, a published writer, childhood cancer would probably get mentioned because it's a big part of my life, but I'm not gonna be famous specifically for childhood cancer. I want to be famous for some talent that I have. Having cancer and surviving cancer is not a talent. It's not, it's not a talent that that, it's just not a talent. I don't even know where I'm going with that. It's just not a talent. It's not considered a talent to get a disease and fight it and beat it. That's not a talent. That is strength and perseverance and modern medicine. Um, it's not God's prayers. It's modern medicine. And we do what we have to do. And I mean, people can think what they want, but it's modern medicine, and it's a child's. Um, I hear this a lot too. Well, just because my child died doesn't mean they weren't strong. No, no, no one's saying that. And if anybody is saying that, they ought to be fucking ashamed of themselves. I would never say that their children were weak just because they passed away. No, of course not. They were strong right up until the end. I have never known a cancer fighter to not be strong. My mom was up until the day she died, and so many other people's children, they were strong right up until the day they died. So there's no such thing as a weak warrior. Oh, and that's another thing. People don't like battle language. Well, I say the word warrior colloquially because when you're thrown into something, or as I always used to say, when you're involuntarily thrust into something that you weren't expecting, you weren't asking for, I would say that that's pretty. It's not heroic, but you are a fighter. You're a warrior. If you are going through things and you're taking the shit that's being thrown at you, and you don't have any other choice, you have no other way, and you're taking all this shit, that makes you a warrior because there's no other way. You go through some of the worst shit and you still come out on the other side. I was a warrior. My mom was a warrior. Although she didn't make it, but she was still a warrior. Um, I don't know why it's such a big deal. Well, I don't like to be called a warrior. So then what is it then? You know what I don't like? I don't like people who say, "Well, this warrior laid down his sword and traded it for angel wings." We don't have a sword. What fucking sword are you talking about? Um, and traded it for angel wings. I mean, I understand it brings comfort. It provides comfort for the families who are grieving, but that I don't buy into. Um, my mom, when she died, she didn't grow wings. She didn't fly out of the room. Um, Not that I can tell. Not saying, that I'm not saying that I'm positive that she didn't, but I'm not convinced. I can't tell you that she did or she didn't. I don't know. But it seems I mean, at this point, it seems rather preposterous to think that that's what happened. Um, and I don't wanna take that kind of comfort away from a family who still grieves their children. If it helps them get through their rough time, their difficult time, then sure, go with whatever comforts you. although it's a comforting lie, but, or it's a claim that has not met its burden of proof. But if it provides comfort, then I encourage that. Um, but just realize as long as you take into account or take into consideration that there may not be another side. It's one life, and when you die, that's it. Um, but I think I've I put my foot in my mouth that time. I think I stumbled into something I probably shouldn't have mentioned, but oh well, too late. Um, well, we got about another 15 minutes left in the show. Um, Usually I'm in a more upbeat mood, but today it's just been kind of blah. Um, and today I think is just one of those days now because of what today is. But today is also my Uncle Danny's birthday, so happy birthday, Uncle Danny. He celebrates a birthday, and then my brother Wayne had a birthday this past Friday, the 28th, and his girlfriend Nora had taken him to Applebee's for his birthday, which I thought was cool. I don't know what Uncle Danny's doing today. I don't think he's feeling well today. Dad called Annie Lane and passed on the birthday wish to Uncle Danny, and I think he talked to Uncle Danny on the phone for a couple minutes. But yeah, Uncle Danny celebrates a birthday today. I don't know what I'm doing this week. I think I have. Well, I know I have another bill I have to pay. Um, but other than that, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm going to the Pine Run tomorrow. I probably will. I got lucky on Michigan Lottery Cash Pop last week. It's a they draw a number, and if you match the one number, you win the prize beneath the number. I won 75 bucks on Cash Pop. So that'll be the money I use to put in gas and get something to eat out at Pine Run Inn. But Dad went to check on a air tank. Um, we were watching some videos here on YouTube yesterday about the bladder tanks because we still don't have water. We're still, heating water on the stove, and it's been warm out, so all the snowpack melted. So we've been filling up water jugs at my uncle's house and a friend's house between the two, and it's getting really fucking annoying taking sponge baths and I need to soak in my tub for about a good hour and a half to just sit back and relax in my nice bathtub because the sponge baths are just not cutting it. Um, but Dad went to check on an air tank, and we've been watching videos on YouTube because you got to have so many psi of air in the tank. Because I think what happened is there's no air to go down under the ground to push the water up, and I think Dad has to fill it with air again. I think that's what he's got to do. So there's a chance we might have water here again pretty soon, hopefully soon, because I really would like to sit in my bathtub and soak for about an hour. Um, but it's frustrating not having running water. It sucks. It really sucks. And yes, I did take my medicine today. My Celexa is an antidepressant, and it's also, I think, a mood stabilizer. But I'm still feeling kind of blah today. There's just a lot going on, so much going on, and the thing is, I've always wanted for my story to count just as much as the next person's. Although I am decades separated from my battle, but um I still want it to matter to somebody. And I think, deep down, I want for these kids to keep fighting. Being inspired by my story and to say, I kept going because of Jer Bear, or I kept going because if Jer Bear did it, so can I. And I would like to think that's the case. Um, but I'm not looking for front page news. I'm not looking to be on television. I'm not looking to be on a radio. I'm not looking to be on a podcast. Um, I mean, I have my YouTube channel here and I do some pretty creative stuff on my other channel, but I'm not looking for popularity. I'm not even looking for a pat on the back, honestly. I think I do this for the kids. I don't do it for anything else or for any other reason or for no one else except for the kids. Um, because I was a kid once. When I had cancer, I was a kid, I should say, because we were all children once. Um, but I think I do it more for the children than anything else. I don't even do it for me. Um, if there's one thing I can give back, it would be my testimony. It would be that the testimony that I fought, and I fought with every ounce of energy I had. Although I was 2 years old, I still fought, and I hung in there. I stuck it out. I got through my treatment. I mean, even when I had to get scans done, I didn't like being poked with a needle. I know most kids don't. It's terrifying. I didn't like it. And I remember the many times that my dad would carry me in his arms kicking and screaming because I did not want that fucking needle in my arm. That shit hurts. But I got it done, and I fussed over, every time it'd be like looking back on it, I mean, yeah, I fussed over nothing. Although those little butterfly needles hurt like a motherfucker. But um it was little. That was minor compared to the overwhelming things that I have been through in terms of my health. Even getting a tooth pulled. I mean, I don't like the idea of needles being stuck in my face. However, getting a tooth pulled is minor compared to getting chemo and radiation and having a kidney surgically removed, a kidney and a whole organ being taken out. Um, there's really nothing compares to childhood cancer, to going through that. I mean, you can watch the St. Jude commercial and you can get a sense of like, oh my God, those precious babies, they're going through some of the worst things in their lives. And yeah, and I was one of those kids, although I wasn't on national television, but I lived that life. I walked in those shoes. And I always say now that I see the world through the eyes of these children because I was a child when I had cancer. So the only thing that matters to me in terms of, like putting my story out there, the only thing that matters to me is do it for the kids. Show them that, oh, Jerry Bear's been through it. That's how I got the nickname. And I'm still alive and kicking and doing what I got to do to survive. That's basically the crux of it. I'm not doing this for media attention. I'm not being interviewed by Entertainment Tonight or Inside Edition or any of these, gossip columns or whatever you call them. The gossip column now are the people who have been against me for years because they try to get people to believe a lie because they know people aren't going to question what they're being told. They're not going to challenge it. So they're going to lie and they're going to take comfort in knowing that they've lied to um, they're just liars. They're gonna take comfort in being a liar. That's fine. I don't lie. I don't lie about anything mostly. I mean, I if someone were to ask me what my Social Security number was, I wouldn't give them the right numbers, like, I'd lie about that, but that's a white lie. Um, Anything else, I don't lie about. I'm pretty honest, I'm straightforward. Um, yeah, that's what Amy said, "If I don't like something you say, I'm gonna blow up. I'm gonna explode." Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends, especially when it comes to uneducated buffoons talking about childhood cancer when they've never been through it. I put a guy in his place, his name is Don Holloway. I put him in his place because he messaged me one day and just spouting off a bunch of misinformation about childhood cancer and trying to pretending as though I knew that there is a cure and I know that you know I know that they know there's a cure, and it's like, wait just a second. You've never had to live this life, so don't fucking tell me that you know what I know, because you don't know what I know. And you don't know that I know that they know something. So don't sit here and pretend as though you are an authority to talk about something you've never lived through. And after I raked them over the coals and I put them in their place, Don Holloway decided to go on a Facebook rant and whine and bellyache about how mean I was and Jared is not the guy you think he is, and you fucking crybaby motherfucker. That's what you are, a fucking crybaby, Don Holloway. Because I put you in your place because you were being dishonest. And the one thing I don't tolerate is someone who's never been through this telling me what I know. You don't know you don't know half of the shit that I know about, especially about childhood cancer. You don't know half of the shit that I know, and you don't know either if there is a cure. I don't know that. My position is I'm neither here nor there until I see evidence for either. Now, we don't have a known cure for all cancers, so my position is I don't know. Now, just because there's no known cure doesn't mean that there's not, that it doesn't exist. They just haven't discovered it yet. However, I'm not going to give a definite statement. I'm not going to die on the hill of there is no cure and versus there is a cure but they're not telling us. I'm not going to put my stake in the ground. My position is I don't know. And I think that's probably the most honest answer you can give. It's like the most honest answer you can give because that's been an age-old question for ages. Is there a cure for cancer? Oh, and people are like, "Oh, they know there's a cure, they just don't wanna tell you." So if you know that you're claiming that they know there's a cure, so then demonstrate where they know that there's a cure. And then we'll put you on the front page of the paper and we'll give you a Nobel Peace Prize. The truth is you don't know. You're speculating. And I don't like speculation. Now, what I will accept is like when I watch the news and sometimes they'll say, well, scientists have discovered a breakthrough that will, you can detect cancer early on through blood work and all that. Great. Great. Take labs. If a simple lab will show if you have cancer or not, great, which I think they already knew that. Because it shows up in the blood when they take a blood sample. They look for the signatures in the blood sample. Like they do this with the vial. They'll turn it upside down and they'll shake it and they'll do that. Um, but what we're looking for is a cure. And it may not happen in my lifetime. It might happen in my lifetime. I don't know. And even for me to say, "Well, they keep us sick for profit," I only say that out of frustration, you know? I say it out of frustration. I don't know what they're really doing. Um, it's one of those things where you have to be careful what you say because if you give any misinformation, then, um, some people will hold it to you for the rest of your life. You'll never hear the end of it. But, I say that that comes from a place of frustration. They keep us sick in order to remain rich. They have customers. They don't want cures, they want customers, which I think, I'm wrong about saying that because really nobody knows. Nobody knows the truth. So I just contradicted myself on live YouTube. That's fine. That's fine. At least I am honest enough to point it out when I've made a contradiction or when, I don't wanna be another Don Holloway, which I would never be another Don Holloway. Um, I don't go around speculating. I'm more interested in what's true, not what people speculate. I will say Pfizer, they did a Super Bowl ad where, they were talking about childhood cancer, and as it turns out, they used a kid for their advertising campaign, but they're not really working for, childhood cancer, and that's why so many people in the demographic are pissed at Pfizer, me being one of them, because, this is not a joke. This is not a game. We can go all day long about even adults, teens and adults who get cancer, which we don't want to, push them to the side. We don't wanna exclude or discard them because they are part of that as well. But these are children, babies we're talking about, little kids, and just like me, they're fighting for their lives every single day. And just like I did when I fought it, I fought for my life every single day. 36 years later, I'm still fighting for my life every single day. And that's how I'm going to end this Sunday video update. I thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I will be back on March 9th next week. So I love you all very much. Have a wonderful week. Don't forget to tune in to the Fox Sunday Flashback tonight at 7 o'clock. And, yeah, call in with a request. I'm sure Dan would love to hear from you. He plays the best in Southern rock, classic country, and I'm gonna say outlaw country because, he plays a lot of, Skynyrd and Allman Brothers, and he plays all of it. I mean, it's a really good show. So, go and check him out tonight, guys. Click on that link in the chat and, tell him Jay Bear sent you. So I love y'all very much. Actually, it's not even an hour yet. I'll just stick around and wait for because my timer says 58. And so it's not, although the time on my computer says 4 p.m., but it's not actually a full hour officially because I kind of started late. For some reason, it wouldn't pull up when I wanted it to when I clicked go live. So I got about an extra minute to spare and then it'll be a full hour. So, but anyway, I love y'all. Dad would say, "Be good to each other and take care of each other." Amy, she would say, "Be safe, peace out, and have a good day." I did want to end the live stream without at least Amy getting her word, and because she usually has something to say at the end of every live stream. So I don't want to rob her of that opportunity. But I will be back next week, March 9th. So be there, be square, as they say. Thank you to Chewing Off My Toenail for the humor this week. If you see me out and about, don't be afraid to approach me and say hey. Say, "Hey, Jerry Bear, how you doing?" Or I don't know, give me a good flick in the back of the ear. That'll work. But anyway, I'm out. Much love and peace, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.